Hello, and then this is episode 4. I'm going to call it Falling Down. Anyone who was privileged enough to get to watch Michael Douglas's Falling Down when it was out in the theaters knows that it made quite a lasting impression. And it has on me. There was a scene in Falling Down where there was a man, he was an African American man, or if you want me to use a different word, I can. I don't actually care. I tend to use the word black American or black American. It almost always is like that. I'll be honest. I'm getting kind of tired. It's just a lot of words and I have a lot of delay. Plus, to be honest with you, that's what the majority of people that I speak to who actually are people of color call themselves as black. They don't actually refer to themselves in these other ways. But anyway, that is a massive diversion. This particular person was standing on the street with a sign. I think he had a sign, and if he didn't, I put one there in my mind because I'm tired. My bad old brains. But the subject of him remains. And what he said was that he was not economically viable. Michael Douglas wasn't doing well either. He was getting a divorce in the movie. He was a bit unhinged. Had an ex-wife and a kid. He was trying to make it there to get a birthday gift. Stopped off at Whammy Burger. People didn't want to serve him the breakfast menu. But I think that was it. It was some deal like that. And then he had basically said, give me a Whammy Burger. He lost it. Anyway, that is more of a synopsis of the film, which was probably not necessary and actually didn't tell you enough, did it? It tells you it's about an unhinged person. Probably has PTSD. Can't remember, but he's losing it a lot. I feel like him. Except for I'm not dangerous. But the man in there that said not economically viable makes me think of myself today. I am not economically viable. Since I've been about 19 or so, I lost my ability to work. I just couldn't. Recently, I shared I might cry during the story. Recently, I shared one of a sad story to me. It was my first official job. I had a couple jobs that lasted not too long, but this one, it lasted longer. It lasted over 6 months. Now, you might be saying to yourself, boy, that's pathetic. Don't, please. I did my best. I did. I had multiple car collisions by the time I was 18. I had been reverse collided into, so it was a backup. Someone popped the clutch. I love stick shifts myself. Nothing more that we need than humanity to have a stick shift because they're paying attention at the wheel. Anyway, okay, that's probably why that one's going. Maybe that's why they're doing automatic cars. But the thing is, I had to come back to my thought.
You were in these
I was in multiple accidents. I was in the car. This person popped the clutch in front of us. I think it was 4 times. So I was very injured. I was lucky to be working. Then I got accused of being a drug addict on the job because I was taking the 1/2 of a muscle relaxer out of 3 that was prescribed. This led me to actually put myself into drug treatment. I'm not making this up. I wish I was. 3 months, guys. 3 months drug treatment. The people in the group were confused. But I again digress. Because I was talking about economic viability. Was I not? And the thing is I was not economically viable by the time I was 19. I was good for doing a lot of business, though. I've been fighting since I was a kid. The first thing I did, I won't say. No one needs to hear all kinds of negativity. But no 16-year-old should ever do it. No way. It was appointed to me. Cheryl, can you do this? I won't say it. I want to spare everyone a whole lot of pain. A lot of people are probably not going to remember. Maybe it wouldn't be painful to them. It was painful to me at the dinner table being asked. Can you please review this report? I will share it was a very serious report. And when I was 18, or well, almost 19, I was in the hospital, and a friend of mine and the doctor actually recommended that I apply for disability, and so I did. And it took a year for me to get disability. Let me tell you, at 18, when you got my grade point average, not that I care about it grades, but I did well with what I did. And I left high school young and went and graduated high school and college and took college level classes, and I was doing fine, and yet here I was finding myself disabled. It took 1 year and vomit in my hair during the actual examination for disability. The woman just told me to go, and she awarded me disability. I was at that point not economically viable. That show was a serious show. So I have a question for people who are economically viable. I understand that it is difficult for you to put yourself in the position of somebody who's 18 years old and facing a life of disability. You may want to put yourself there, because when I was in class, and it wasn't that far back because I went back to school and made myself sick until 2018, the last stat I got said that 20% of young people today will be facing a disability. That's 1 out of 5. If you look at how many kids have type 2 diabetes, it's consistent with that type of picture. Now we've had a pandemic that's been just so awful. Furthermore, our stance on how we look at infectious disease is so kill anyway that we never saw it anyway. If we even kill. What I mean by kill is we just throw antibiotics at it. Antihistamines. Put anti in front of anything, and we throw it at it, and we think that fixes it, and it doesn't. If we do that. So we're in trouble. And I have a lot of people that are asking me questions all the time. So I get a lot of questions. One question is, what do you do? I've answered this before, by the way. Sometimes I say, well, I'm a writer. I like to write. I like to do ceramics. And I'm interested in languages. That's not the answer they want. They want to know what I am. What gives me worth? What is my job? Someone told me that was a West Coast thing. That didn't happen on the East Coast. That's bullshit. That happens everywhere in American culture. We have the work ethic. It could be worse on the West Coast, where we're more laid back, than it is on the East Coast. But that doesn't sound right to me. Portland, the majority of people don't even leave home till they're in their 30s. So come on. They're not going to be asking what you do for a living unless you're in the different circle. I'm sorry. It's funny to me when people back east tell me that people in the West are snobby. It's like, really? Maybe if you're in LA or in certain parts of Portland. No offense to people in LA or people in Portland that might be listening. I get tired of hearing West Coast comments from the East Coast, especially from transplants. They came over here. I'll say what my stepfather used to say, get going. We don't need you here. We have too many people coming here thinking that Portlandia is it. It's actually not that awesome right now. But quit coming here and complaining and telling how great the East Coast is. I lived in the Midwest. The East Coast ain't that great. It's a skip, hop, and a jump to the East Coast from Chicago to me, and I never felt much desire to go there. So, I'm not saying it's not lovely, but just stop with everything. This has been an all over the place thing. I have a lot of brain inflammation today. You're getting to see me not well. You're getting to see me when I'm losing it. This is me really losing it. Okay, like this is me pretty upset. I can get worse when my inflammatory states get worse at night, but this is me losing it publicly. I've lost control of myself. Normally, I don't do that. Normally, I'm kind of a happy-go-lucky person. But I am going to say, being asked what my daughter does, whether she's going to school, where she went to school, whether she's making money, STFU. Sorry, that's what my friend Bear would tell me to tell everyone. I'm not going to translate that for you because in text talk, you ought to know what I'm talking about. And if it's you that thinks this about me, which if you're listening to this, you probably don't. Because the people who are saying this type of stuff probably wouldn't even listen to this. But perhaps they will, and they just found themselves in some misguided moment trying to make, some normal talk with me, chitter chatter or whatever. And they thought they'd asked what I did because they forgot the last time they asked me or what I've been doing 3 days ago when they talked to me when I was in bed. They weren't in bed with me. Sorry, that sounded wrong. But I was in bed and I was texting them. And they were like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, I'm having sweats and I've been sick since November. And actually, it's October. And actually, it's really since October of 2020, not this year. And I'm trying to be a person who's happy, share stuff. I actually think I'm a lot more positive than some of these people. I share pictures. I do audio talks with them. I am there to listen to them. And I share my projects that I'm doing, even though I'm having fever and stuff. And what do I get? I get critique. That's called honesty in today's culture. Do you know what I call that? I think Sarah knows. I'll just see if she can get the first letter of what people call honesty in the United States in today's culture. I call it. So what word do I use the most when people say something and it's just start the letter? I only need the letter of the profanity. When somebody says something that isn't true.
B.
Yes. It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. And I'm going to leave it there. If anyone's listening and you have loved ones and they're struggling right now, it doesn't take having this miserable, as my family says, fucking virus. It doesn't take having the other one. He called the same thing, Coxsackie. B family viruses. He doesn't like viruses right now. It doesn't take having a third virus, yet I do. And it doesn't take having more than that, and yet I seem to find myself having it. So on that note, I'm going to stop this. This was my rant for the night. If you've got family that are having those things, though, support them. Be kind. Say happy things. Try. I don't mean like be Pollyanna. I mean try to engage with them. When I go out and I do get out of this house, I take my camera on my walks and I try to film something beautiful for my friends that are stuck. I don't sit there and rub it in their face. That's not cool. They can't walk, some of them, at all. So I don't want to do that. And I've asked permission before I send it usually because I don't want them to feel bad. Think. Be mindful. A lot of people are throwing around the word mindful. I'm starting to think it's a useless word. We're mindlessly using the word mindful. Is that not weird and ironic? Let's not. Let's actually pay attention. The word mindful means to pay attention to. The opposite of mindfulness is really like forgetfulness or neglectful. I forget what I would call it, mindlessness. Cluelessness, really. So maybe it'd be better to call it clued in. Are you clued in? Because these people, they don't know. They're just using the word mindful because it is the yuppie fad word of today. If you're participating in fads, know that the problem with fads is they usually don't lead to anything appreciable. And mindfulness is one of those cases. There's actually some cases with mindfulness where it's harmed people, particularly in the business world, where it's been imposed that they engage in mindfulness during meetings and during other activities, that they sit and be mindful. I don't think that's what Thich Nhat Hanh had in mind when he mentioned mindfulness. I think what he had in mind was being aware. Being aware, not being forgetful. Not acting like you're on your way to your funeral when you're driving, so much so that you're not aware that you're going to kill yourself and not get there. See what I mean? Sorry for that, but sometimes it just takes an example. Plus, with what most people tell me, my example was nothing. Okay, I said I was going to wrap it up, but the reason I didn't wrap it up is because when I was going to wrap it up, I hadn't made my point because I had cognitive delay. I should really entitle this episode What It Seems Like and Feels Like, what it sounds like and feels like to have brain fog or cognitive delay. All right, guys, see you next time.